My sister-in-law, Emily, doesn't want me to come to her housewarming party, even though she and my brother lived with me for 6 months. But when I showed up with some documents in hand, the party ended in minutes. So here I am wondering if I did something wrong because my family has been giving me a lot of grief over it. Honestly though, I don't think I did anything all that bad. A few days ago, I showed up uninvited to my brother James's housewarming party. Before you judge me, let me explain. I had my reasons. First off, not being invited to the party was a huge slap in the face, especially considering I let James and Emily live with me rent-free for 6 months 2 years ago. I'm 32 years old. My brother James is 30 and Emily, my sister-in-law, is 29. James and I used to be inseparable. He came to me for everything and I was always there for him. We had a close bond and I still love my brother. I definitely wouldn't be even thinking about apologizing if I didn't care about him. But honestly, I've never really liked Emily. It's not that I didn't try, I made an effort but it just didn't click. I really tried to make an effort to like her but it was impossible. Emily's just too pretentious for my taste. She constantly carries this, "I'm better than you" attitude, especially when she's talking to people who don't agree with everything she says. She acts like she knows better than everyone, even when she's talking about things she has no real knowledge of. And it's never subtle. She's always dropping hints about her fancy business school education and how it supposedly makes her better qualified to comment on everyone else's life. It honestly drove me up the wall. I believe in celebrating our differences, but to Emily, if you don't live and think exactly how she does, you're somehow less. And it wasn't just little things. Every time we met, there was some condescending remark about my job, my choices, or my lifestyle. It became exhausting to be around her. The only reason I kept my cool for so long was because of James. I respected him, he was my brother, and I didn't want to create a storm in his life. So I swallowed my frustration like a bitter pill. He'd beg me not to make things worse, pleading with me like a child asking for mercy. He'd say, "She doesn't mean it like that, she's just trying to help." I honestly hated hearing him say that. It felt like he was wearing rose-tinted glasses and ignoring how cruel Emily could be. As a husband, he always stood by his wife's side no matter how wrong she was. But despite the knot in my stomach, I stayed silent, not wanting to create unnecessary drama or wound him further. It only made things worse. The truth is, I live a pretty unconventional life. I know a lot of people probably don't get it or even disapprove, but honestly, I'm totally okay with that. I don't need anyone's validation to live the way I want or to make the choices that work for me. For some reason, Emily just can't stop commenting on my life every time we meet. Just so you know, I'm a marketing specialist. It's not a job everyone understands or appreciates, but it pays well and I'm good at it. I'm happy with where I am. But Emily seems to think that my career isn't stable. She always says that if I lose my job, I'll be stuck. I don't know why she thinks that because I'm secure in my work and always find new opportunities. What she says in public is ridiculous, but she doesn't think there's anything wrong with it. She also doesn't seem to understand that I'm older than her and have more experience in my field. She doesn't know anything about marketing, but because she graduated from a prestigious business school, she feels like she has the right to comment on how I live my life. I didn't follow the traditional path either. I didn't go to a big university. More like community college. To be honest, I wasn't really into school. Maybe if I'd cared more, I could have been a better student, but I didn't really bother. I was more into things like sports and theater. You get the picture. I wasn't the academic type and my grades definitely reflected that. So, I ended up at community college. Even there, my attendance was spotty, but I somehow made it through. As soon as high school ended, I jumped into work. I didn't see the point of college when I was already making money. I interned at a company, but then I started auditioning for commercials. A producer on set really liked my voice and that's how I got my first job. From that point on, I've been in the industry and I know it better than she does. The thing is, Emily has no clue about my field, but she still insists I should go back to school, get a real degree from a real university and settle into a regular job. She claims it's for my own good in case something happens to my voice. I honestly would have appreciated that advice if it came from someone who understood what I do, but nope, she's always the one saying it. And she does it in front of family with a tone that practically screams, "I'm better than you." And it doesn't stop there. There are other parts of my life she finds unconventional. Like the fact that I've been very clear that I'm never getting married. My family's tried to convince me otherwise, but I've stuck to my guns. I've told them all, I'm just not interested in marriage. It's not that I have anything against it, it's just not for me. But the real turning point came last Christmas. We were all at my mom's house and once again, Emily brought up the topic of marriage in front of everyone. She started talking about how I'd regret not having a husband and how a family would complete me. This time I'd had enough. I stood up in the middle of dinner, looked her straight in the eye and said, "You know, Emily, not everyone thinks like you and frankly, I don't need your approval to live my life." The room fell silent. My brother James looked like he'd seen a ghost. Emily of course got defensive, but it was too late. The damage had been done. After that, things between us just shifted. The tension in our family grew and every gathering became uncomfortable. My parents, who had always tried to be neutral, started questioning my choices, not directly but you could tell they were torn. Emily had made sure they understood her side of the story, making it look like I was the one causing the drama. But the truth was, I had just stopped pretending to be something I'm not for the sake of family peace. And that, well, that's what really started tearing everything apart. I've always been clear about one thing. Marriage just isn't for me. I don't need a husband, and honestly, I'm pretty happy with my life as it is. Sure, I have a daughter and I didn't become a mom by accident. I adopted her when she was just a baby. She's 5 now and I wouldn't change a thing. Some might think having a husband would have made things easier, but that's just not my path. I've had some relationships, but none of them were serious. I made it crystal clear from the start that I wasn't interested in marriage, and some of them stuck around while others didn't. But my lifestyle isn't going to change for anyone. People might think I need a husband to make my life easier or complete, but that's just not how I see it. I wanted to be a mom and I was ready to be one. That's why I adopted my daughter. Her biological mom couldn't care for her and I could. My family, they took their time to come to terms with it, but eventually they realized they couldn't change my mind. I wasn't going to listen to their opinions or let their judgments influence my life. But not Emma. He couldn't just let it be. She still thought it was okay to comment on my life and tell me what I should be doing. Even after I adopted my daughter, she kept insisting that I needed to find a husband, or my life would be too difficult. It was beyond annoying, and I swear if it hadn't been for my brother, I would have snapped at her a long time ago. The only reason I kept quiet was because of him. I love my brother and I wanted him to be happy, so I swallowed my frustration. I've talked to James about Emily a few times, but it always ends the same way. Even when they were dating, I told him how she always rubbed me the wrong way. She'd offer her unsolicited advice like she was some sort of expert on everything. James always defended her, saying she meant well and that she thought she was helping. She thought she was a good Samaritan trying to guide people with her wisdom. Every time I got fed up, James would beg me not to say anything, saying it'd hurt Emily's feelings. And when I say beg, I mean literally start crying to make me stay quiet. I couldn't understand it. I'm not the type of person who likes to see people cry, let alone be the reason they're crying. So I just bit my tongue. But here's the thing. Emily has this massive ego. She can't stand anyone in the family being better than her, especially when it comes to her work. When her business with James failed, it wasn't just about losing money, it was about her pride. She was so set on doing things her way, ignoring any advice anyone gave, even when it was clear they didn't have the resources or experience. She didn't want to just succeed. She wanted to prove she was right and better than anyone else in the family. I knew they were heading for disaster and I couldn't just stand by. I warned them. I saw the risk, but Emily was stubborn. She believed in her abilities so much and thought she could make James believe the same. So when it all fell apart and they lost everything, James came to me. And honestly, I almost didn't recognize him. His face was pale, his eyes bloodshot, and he just looked so broken. I knew something was terribly wrong. And then James did something I never thought I'd see. This guy, the one who's always been so strong, so confident, dropped to his knees in front of me and begged, "Sarah, please help us. We don't know what to do anymore." His voice was so shaky and I could see in his eyes that he was falling apart. It was gut-wrenching. I didn't want to help, I wanted to be angry at them, but all I could feel was pity for James. I knew they didn't appreciate my help, but I couldn't leave him there like that. It wasn't just about being right anymore. It was about family. It felt wrong, like I was being used, but when I looked at James, the man who used to be so sure of himself, now a mess in front of me, I knew I couldn't turn him away. They had invested a lot of money, and now they were deep in debt, having to pay back what they borrowed from friends to start the business. It was clear things weren't going to work out. And that was a tough phase for them. They had to shut everything down, make sacrifices, and face the reality of their failure. I knew they couldn't afford their rent at the time, so I told them they could stay with me. I wanted to be there for my brother James, and even though I wasn't thrilled with how things had turned out, I did it for him. For the first 6 months, Emily was on her best behavior. She knew I was doing her a favor despite how she treated me in the past. She didn't make any unpleasant comments, and for once she seemed respectful. But around the 4-month mark, James asked me for another favor. He wanted me to reach out to a friend of mine and help him find a better job. He was tired of working at the same company and was struggling to get out of the rut. When their business collapsed, James had to go back to his old job and Emily had to do the same. At least Emily seemed content with her work, so she didn't complain. James, on the other hand, wasn't happy with his job and asked me to make some calls to get him something better. He knew I had connections with a lot of executives, so he thought I could help him out. I decided to help him, so I reached out to a friend of mine who owned a fashion brand and asked if he could offer James a position. He was looking for someone to manage his accounting department, and even though James didn't have the required years of experience, my friend agreed to hire him as a favor to me. I was grateful for that because it meant James could get back on his feet. Within 2 months, they moved out of my house and things seemed to be getting better for them. James quickly moved up in his company, not just securing the job but earning a promotion to head of accounting at the fashion brand he worked for. He promised me he'd never forget what I'd done for him, saying it was a huge opportunity and that he appreciated my help more than words could express. But as time went on, I began to notice a change. It didn't take long for him to forget what I had done for him. Least it took my brother about a year to forget, but Emily, she seemed to forget the second they moved out. She went back to making her usual snide comments and acting condescending around me. It felt like I wasn't important to her anymore, especially now that her husband had a good job and they didn't need me. I should have known what kind of person Emily really was and never helped my brother in the first place. But I couldn't do that to him. I could have easily exposed their little illusion that they had somehow become important, just because James had landed a good job, by telling her that I was the one who got him that job. Without me, he'd still be struggling. But I didn't say anything. I didn't want to hurt James, and honestly, I was just too old for that kind of childish drama. But of course, Emily didn't stay quiet for long. She went back to making weird, condescending comments about me, and I went back to doing my best to ignore her. She was so ungrateful that it made me want to slap her or, at the very least, tell her exactly what I thought. Now I'm left feeling like I'm being vilified for standing up for myself. But at the same time, I don't know if crashing their party was the right decision. I'm getting so much backlash. I thought I'd ask the people of Reddit. Am I the bad guy for crashing my brother and sister-in-law's housewarming party to humiliate them? I don't think so, but everyone in my family definitely does. Title: A for crashing my brother and sister-in-law's housewarming to expose their ingratitude? Hashtag A hashtag update Reddit Sarah's post on our Reddit family stories. So here's the deal, Reddit. I've been trying to keep my emotions in check, but I just can't anymore. I'm feeling completely torn about something I did recently, and I need some unbiased opinions. A little backstory. I've always tried to be a good sister and help out when needed, even when it's not convenient for me. But my brother James and his wife Emma have pushed me to my limit. A couple of years ago, James and Emma were struggling. Their business failed and they were drowning in debt. I took them in. They lived with me rent-free for 6 months, using all my utilities, just trying to get back on their feet. I didn't expect anything in return, just wanted to help. And then when James needed a job, I helped him land a better position with a fashion brand. He earned more money and had better hours than he did before. I helped him get back on his feet, no questions asked. Fast forward to now. They've moved into a new house and I found out they were having a housewarming party. But guess what? I wasn't invited. I called James and he told me without hesitation that I wasn't invited because Emma had banned me from their house. She didn't want me at any of their events anymore. I was shocked and hurt. I mean, after everything I did for them, this is how they repay me? James then goes on to say that I wouldn't be invited to any future events unless I apologized to Emma. I can't even begin to explain how this made me feel. It felt like everything I had done for them was completely disregarded. So, I decided to do something that, looking back, I'm not sure was the best choice, but I thought it was necessary. I crashed their housewarming party. I showed up with the receipts, literally. I had printed out the emails between me and my friend, the ones that showed how I helped James land his current job. These emails were proof of everything I had done for them. I told everyone how they lived with me for 6 months and how I helped James get a better job, even though Emma continued to be condescending toward me the whole time. I had kept my mouth shut all these years because I didn't want to hurt my brother or cause drama. But this time I couldn't stay silent anymore. I felt like I needed to stand up for myself. When Emma saw me, she flipped out. She asked James if what I was saying was true, even though I had the emails to prove it. When he confirmed it, she started crying, told everyone the party was over, and ran upstairs with James following her. After that, I just left. Now I'm getting bombarded by my family. My mom called me this morning, saying that what I did was completely unacceptable and that I need to apologize to the family. James is angry at me, saying he never wants to talk to me again. Apparently, I ruined the first day of their new life. I feel like I'm being vilified for standing up for myself, but at the same time I'm second-guessing my actions. Was it too much? I thought I was just exposing the truth, but now I don't know. So, Reddit, AITA for crashing their housewarming and exposing them? I don't think I am, but everyone else does. The Reddit response at Mary College 5272. Honestly, you're not the AH here. You did what needed to be done. They've been treating you like crap after everything you did for them. I would have done the same thing. Your daughter and your well-being should be your priority. If they can't see that, it's their loss. At Mrs. Leandra, ingratitude is the world's reward. You've been nothing but helpful to them and they treat you like this? You had every right to expose them. They can't just use you and throw you away like that. At Beth Anderson 7467. Yeah, I get that crashing the party was petty, but sometimes people need to be shown the truth. If you hadn't done it, no one would have ever known how ungrateful they were. Don't back down. They owe you big time. At Antrim 8552. Ingratitude is worse than witchcraft in my country. You helped them when they were down and they treat you like this? You're doing the right thing by standing up for yourself. At Patricia Spangler 7674. It's sad that your family can't see what Emma and James are doing to you. You've been more than patient and they don't deserve your kindness anymore. They should be ashamed of themselves. At Shadowgirl 8038. Look, I get that crashing the party wasn't ideal, but sometimes people need to be shown the truth. They were treating you like crap and you showed them exactly how it feels to be excluded. You had every right to stand up for yourself. At Lindalantine 8909. Don't apologize to anyone. Emma needed to be knocked off her high horse. You've been the bigger person for so long, and now you've shown them that you won't be treated like garbage. Go no contact with them. At Lynn Hobbs 9901. Yeah, they've shown you who they really are. It's clear they've been using you all along and now they want to paint you as the villain? Nope, you did what was necessary. They're the ones who need to apologize to you. At A7004. I totally understand why. You did what you did. It's not like you showed up to the party for no reason. This was years of built-up frustration and betrayal. If anyone's wrong, it's them. At Glorious Abri 2147. Honestly, you shouldn't even feel bad. If they had a shred of decency, they would have respected you and acknowledged everything you did. They're showing you who they are. Don't apologize to them. Move on and don't look back. At Lindalantine 8909. Tell James and Emma that you refuse to be used by them anymore. Cut ties with them. They've shown you who they really are and you don't need people like that in your life. At Lynn Hobbs 9901. So, nobody thought Emma was wrong? She's clearly the issue here. Judith Pratt. No, definitely not wrong. They're the ones who should be ashamed, not you. At Donna Mason 938. She's not a good Samaritan. Shessa Karen. And James is just as bad for enabling her behavior. Don't apologize. They've shown you who they are. Sarah's reply to comments at Sarah. Wow, I wasn't expecting this much support. Reading through your comments really made me feel like I wasn't in the wrong. I've been struggling with the guilt, but seeing how many of you understand where I'm coming from makes me realize that I wasn't just acting out. I did what I had to do and maybe I went about it the wrong way, but I'm not sorry for standing up for myself anymore. If they want to continue treating me like this, then they can deal with the consequences. Thanks for all the encouragement.